Today, I have a repeat guest, which is Keith McNally, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But the reason why I got him back is because he's preparing an amazing project coming up in the next year, and I want him to talk about it. Because if you understood me from the past, if you watched my show before, and if you haven't, go on my YouTube channel and subscribe. But I'm a lot about mental health, about making sure that people are comfortable in their own skin, being able to remove your limiting beliefs, being able to live with the present and be happy today for what's in front of you right now. And that's why I want to bring back Keith, because we're going to talk about a project that he has, as I mentioned. So I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And maybe you can watch the previous episode with Keith, and also any other episode that I've done in the past. I've done over 2 years of weekly episodes. So there's a nice libraries to go through. And the reason why I call this show It's All Good is mainly because of my cup that says it's all good. And because life is too short to worry and to be sad and depressed, and I my work is to support people into thinking that also their life is all good. So I won't go too much into that. You've seen it before, and I wish you could contact me if you want to know more about what I do. And you can find me here at tiny.cc/talk with Denise. Whether you want to be on this show or you want to have a conversation with me and talk about the things that I can help you with. If you like what I'm saying, well, I welcome you to book an appointment with me. So without any further delay, let's welcome Keith McNally. He's a doctor, but not a medical doctor. And don't ask him how to heal your bobo, because he doesn't know. Or he might know, but he's not qualified for that. So Keith, welcome. Welcome back to the show. I'm super excited to have you here.
Denise, thank you so much for bringing me back on the show. And congratulations. You said 2 years
Over two
of
years, yeah.
weekly episodes.
Hmm. I
Congratulations.
know, it's amazing. All the people I have interviewed, and a couple of people had a redo or came back. But I'm glad to have you here. When you mentioned about your cause, and I say, yeah, of course, I'll interview you and I'll let you talk about it. So, without any further ado, why don't you let us know a little bit about what you've created and what you want to move forward? But before that, in case those didn't watch the episode before, give us a little bit an overview of who you are and what led you to make that decision of your project.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Keith McNally, I've got a book called Walking the Path, A Leader's Journey. I have been doing my own podcast, and so I have two YouTube playlists, which I call podcasts. So,
Mhm.
the Question Guy podcast, which is about people's personal transformation stories. It was birthed, I say, from the quarantine, going through COVID. People were just really impacted, especially through quarantine, feelings of isolation, fear, and a lot of things, great loss,
Mhm.
losses of family members, monies, people lost their homes. So it was a great, transition for a lot of people, and they wanted to share their stories. And so, um, they do so on the Question Guy podcast. And it was through those stories that I really got to learn about people from all over the world, all from all industries across cultures, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
Mhm.
From that, I've created what's called Coach's Corner, because now that we are no longer concerned, I guess, about the
Yes.
effects of
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
we're kind of more talking about what we do for business. And so for 15 minutes, I interview people who are small business owners. And so I call it Coach's Corner because I'm the coach. You don't have to be a coach to be on the show. But whatever you do and whatever impact you're making, I want to share it with the world.
Mhm.
Through all of that and my continued conversations with people, people are being still impacted by uh, psychological and emotional factors, and I'll just
Yeah.
call them that. And so we typically see that as the umbrella of mental health, but talking about mental health, in quotes and air quotes, usually is stigmatized. And I kind of, I want to do away with that. So I use two hashtags, change the conversation and remove the stigma
Mm-hmm.
around mental health. And so what I've created is the Envision Speakers series. And so I do LinkedIn Live events that get recorded. These are panel member discussions around a topic, a very focused topic under the umbrella of mental health. And
Mm-hmm.
so we just aired at the time of this recording, um, our first Envision Speaker Series LinkedIn Live event on men's mental health and suicide prevention. So we had four people. I had four people on the panel. It was a great, great conversation. At this time, it can be found on my YouTube channel. And pretty soon, post this recording, hopefully before the week is up, it'll be global. I know YouTube's global, but on podcast platforms across the globe. And so that's my next stage, is to get that out there. In association with that Envision Speaker Series, changing the conversation around mental health, I want to raise, well, I'm going to raise $1 million to
Mm-hmm.
support mental health and suicide prevention services in different ways. So I'm partnering with different nonprofit organizations who support or provide services, not necessarily therapy services, but things that augment and promote mental and emotional health. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's really what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That $1 million will go to support these agencies, as well as, and this is the kicker, I'm taking a team of people across the Appalachian Trail, and that's here in the United States, and it goes from Georgia to Maine. So it's 2,193 miles. I'm
Wow.
taking a small team with me. I'm looking to make this a big social media event for me and my partners. So I'm looking for sponsors, nonprofit organizations who are looking to support the effort, of course, to receive money. And so I'm really putting a lot of effort starting September 1st, 2023. And for one calendar year, for 12 months, I'm going to raise $1 million.
Wonderful. But why do you, why is that important for you, and putting all that effort into raising the money for prevention, and of suicide prevention, and for peer support? Why is that important to you?
So, in the past 10 years, and like I said, it's 2023 now, in the past 10 years, I have made the attempt twice myself. And so I recognize when life bottoms out, and life can bottom out rather easily in the most unexpected ways. And so, especially for men, but I'm assuming for women as well, when we lose jobs and we lose our identity, we have this knee jerk reaction. Well, what do I do? Who am I? And how am
Mm-hmm.
I going to cope? And just recently, for example, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, so I literally asked him, because he's kind of in the same situation that I was
Yeah.
a couple of years back. And he said it's plan C. And so it's in his thoughts. And the fact that it's in his thoughts is scary, because men often don't see the potential, unless it's right in front of them, of what they can do to escape that negative mindset pattern of everything's going wrong. Nobody loves me. Nobody's thinking about me. Again, I've been there, and I'm having those conversations more and more with people all over the globe who have either known somebody or have thought themselves, whether recently or not
Yeah.
recently, doesn't
Yeah.
matter, have thought, just the thought of it, what's better, what's left for my life than to end it all?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And and often what happens is that people think that they're the only one that going through it, right? And that's why I feel it's important to bring awareness towards suicide prevention and mental health, so that people don't feel like they're all by themselves,
Mhm.
right? That they can understand that there's support out there, there's help out there for them to be able to get out of that mental state that keeps them, attached to the concrete, log, at the bottom of the river. It's like, I can't get out. I can't breathe. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't get out of this horrible situation. So I think that's very important for what you're doing in order to support that. And what do you feel? So you want to raise that money for the prevention and support, of suicide prevention. But where is that money going to go?
So I'm looking to partner with nonprofit organizations who provide those specific services and supports. And so I've already started
Yeah.
here in America. So there's an organization called the Hope Institutes here in
Okay.
Virginia, Northern Virginia.
Okay.
So that's one. And I'm looking to have other conversations with people who would be interested and motivated to join me in this effort, knowing that your services are important and valuable. And the message that we have a shared message that life should be sustained. Life is very critical. Life is very valuable. And the loss of it is such, it's such a shame.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
each one of us, and and I know, every conversation that we have adds value to who we are as an individual. So if we continue to have these conversations and we continue to build a community of people who trust, like, know, and understand where people are coming from, we can do those very things that I said we can do. We can change the conversation and remove the stigma. People are so scared to talk about how they feel and what they're thinking because they're afraid of being judged. Let's get that and remove it. Take it away. Take it out of the equation
Hmm.
and let's embrace each other for who we are.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you talked about the Envision speaker series, and what impact are you trying to have with this group? Like, you just started, like you had one or two episodes done, and but what do you try to achieve by having those conversations?
Well, the first one was focused on men's mental health and suicide prevention. So my speakers came in and really talked about their own personal experiences. So they disclosed a lot of who they were themselves and how they've, um, how their life bottomed out. And when we get in touch with the other person's experiences,
Yeah.
you said earlier, we often feel like we're alone.
Hmm.
Now we're not. We
Yeah.
now know that there's other people out there. I just heard, whoever was on my call, they experienced it. They lost a job. But it's not just about sharing the story. It's about learning and understanding and appreciating what this other human being literally did to pull themselves up. Sometimes you can do it on your own. Most of the time, it's going to take one or more people to pull you through.
Yeah.
It's those people, it's those relationships that we need to build. It's that community that we need to build to make life better. Next conversation I'm having. So in August, whenever this airs, in August 2023, I'm having a two-part conversation with a woman and her friend slash mentor. She was abused as a child. Her whole growing up, that whole 0 to 18 years, traumatized
Yeah.
day in and day out. It was crazy. And she's willing to share that story. And in her own words, if it helps just one person who listens to my
Yeah.
story, if I can reach one person with my story and tell them how to get out safely, then she wants to share that story.
Hmm.
And then in the future, I've got conversations around um, human debt, and I've never even heard this as a phrase before, talking about the psychological trauma of the workplace, toxic workplaces causing fear, intimidation, um, depression,
Yeah. Of
because
course.
people don't want to go to work because they're being bullied or intimidated.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in 2023, this is really going on, and people are telling me yes.
Yeah. The thing is, bullying doesn't stop in elementary school,
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't, which is crazy. I mean, we are adults here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm thinking we have to go to work and the work should be a safe place, but I'm being told That's not the
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
So it's these kind of conversations. And then from these conversations, I'm realizing that those people who are on my panel are the change makers. And so I want to highlight their expertise and experience, bring that experience to the forefront, let them talk about what they know, and air it on in the conversation in order to, one, share their story, and two, let people who are in the audience, my community, our community, know that they have a place to go to hear, to see, and to change their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, too often people, they don't know what to do, where to go, how to do it.
Yeah.
They, and as I mentioned earlier, and you agree, it's like they feel alone. So by building more awareness, by talking more about it, and even though there's been lots of campaign about, but I think we moved a bit further, from years back. We're a little bit further away because whenever I was hearing years ago about mental health, I thought it was like people that lives in a mental institute, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
There's the stigma, right? Yeah.
That
Mhm.
people have mental health issue, well, they should be in an institute. But there's so many people around us that do have mental health issue, and sometimes it's not permanent. Like you can go into a deep, into a depression. It could last a month, it could last 2 months, could last a year, and then you come out of it, right?
Yeah.
For
Well,
some.
just for me to clarify, my conversations are not around mental illness. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not going in to treat or diagnose.
Yeah, of course.
What we're having conversations around is how to think about it differently. And when a situation happens, loss of a job, loss of a loved
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
you and I both have conversations where we've interviewed coaches who may be life coaches or mindset coaches or grief coaches. We have the resources available to us to say, hey, I know somebody who can help you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. And too often when people don't get the support they need, then they say, well, what's the point? What's the point of living? What's the point? Nobody cares. Why would I bother staying? They don't see the importance they have in the people, in the life of the people around them.
Right.
And they feel that I'm just a burden. I may as well just disappear, and there's no reason for me to stay here. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
And that's what your campaign's all about, to raise awareness for suicide prevention, to show people that there are people that care for them. There
They're
are people
important.
out there that are, and they are important. And if they go through a difficult situation, well, this too shall pass, and things will get better, if you give yourself a chance to move in that direction. So I think it's amazing. And you talked about raising money, $1 million in the next year. So who would be your ideal sponsors? Like, who are you looking for? Of course, we all can provide, a little bit of money to support you, but I'm sure there are, like, if anybody that listening that knows about whomever Keith's going to be talking about, maybe put him in touch with him to support him. But who are these sponsors that you're looking to have in your camp that support you in raising that money?
Well, anybody with deep pockets, I would say, would be a first guess, right? So that would be fantastic. Anybody who is really passionate and understands the need. If you've had the experience, or if you know somebody who has died by suicide, and you were deeply impacted by that, and you
Hmm.
want to see this traumatic event mitigated, stopped, contact me. Specifically, the sponsors would be anybody who would support me and my team hiking the Appalachian Trail. So, Dick's Sporting Goods would be one. And so, anybody who provides hiking gear, camping equipment, and those kind of things, um, t-shirts. I want to wear t-shirts and say, hey, whoever this is, these are the people who understand what I'm trying to accomplish. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
any real type of sponsor would be of value at this point. And of course, the nonprofit agencies who are providing the service, making change happen. And of course, one of my colleagues, my friends, Jerry Klingerman, who was on the first panel for the Envision Speaker Series, has a Facebook group specifically for men
Mhm.
to talk to other men, kind of like a campfire group,
Yeah,
so that they can feel a part of something,
yeah,
which is really cool. And not just like a professional organization for networking. I mean, open disclosure of what's going on in
mm,
your lives, and there needs to be more of that.
yeah.
So those are the kind of people that I would love to be supporting my initiative, my campaign. I will also be doing a GoFundMe campaign. So if you just want to say, Keith, where can I just give you 20 bucks? Bam, there you go. At the time of this conversation, it's not been set up, but hopefully by the time this publishes, it'll be set up by then.
Perfect. And you're not gonna do that. How long the walk you told me once it was like 6 months, right?
So 2,193 miles. The average is usually about 7 months. And so they say give yourself 6 to 8. It's a lot of time away from home.
Yeah, 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 it is.
So I invite anybody who's been out there or wants to engage in something. For me, this is kind of like I always say, I'm a half a century old plus some, and so this is part of my bucket list anyway. I
Yeah,
want to do something big, but now I want to do something big with a purpose and impact.
absolutely. And for those that don't know what that is, I'm gonna share my
The
screen.
Appalachian Trail.
Let's see if I can pull that up.
Cool.
Take this one. All
There you
right.
go.
So
From Georgia to Maine.
hold on,
You
I
said,
have to do two things at once. So I'm gonna not see you, and then I'm gonna move it. So the idea is to you're gonna leave. You're gonna start from here,
all the way
right?
down in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me hold on. Let me do this, and let me try to make it look bigger. So that, and then all right. So the idea is to start from here,
Hmm.
and then to follow the path,
Hmm.
right? And to go all the way to rain and sunshine and maybe snow. Hopefully not. Go all the way through, all the way. See, I'm not done yet. We're only in
I know it.
Pennsylvania,
You're still,
New
it's
Jersey.
14 states on the East Coast
I
all the
know. Look
way.
at that. You're just like coming to Connecticut and Massachusetts and Vermont, New Hampshire, going all the way to Maine and all the way to here.
We're almost touching Canada.
Yes,
Absolutely.
you're just like Canada's right there. So, so that's absolutely amazing. You know, when you think about it, the scope of that trail, like the length. So, do you have people already that's okay? I'm in. I'll be with you for 6 months. Do you have already
I
somebody?
have I have a good friend who has already he's given me his word. So I'm crossing my fingers that a year from now, his word will still be good. And so the trek is we're planning for a March 1st leave, March 1st,
2024,
2025.
25. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
a year and a
Yeah, 'cause
half from now.
unless I get a magic wand that I could, raise $1 million between now and the end of January 2024, then we'll push it for from March 2024 all the way through September 2024. But if not, March 2025 to September 2025.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking is you want to raise the money prior to doing the walk. Is
Yeah,
that
it will all be raised because we want to showcase what's being dispersed to the team. We want to showcase and just be, open about what's being dispersed to these service providers.
yeah.
And so everybody really needs to be upfront with what we're trying to do and how they're gaining value from this overall experience.
But I have a feeling that as you walk the trail and as you most likely going to be doing a lot of videos and recording of your
Lots of
route,
picture taken, absolutely.
and I
Yeah.
can see that after 6 months that it could become a movie or something like that. You know, like hey, why not? And
Reversing the trail.
yeah, but then you'll be raising money throughout also, right?
Probably so, and that's the intention. This is an ongoing effort because unless we actually stop suicide, I can't stop my efforts to stop suicide. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
bring
Yeah.
awareness to the forefront. And I do recognize that there are 800 hotlines out there. I don't know how good those service providers are. My first job out of college or during college. This is many, many centuries ago. Only kidding. But right out of college, I was a mental health service provider in North
Okay.
Carolina, and I provided crisis intervention services, a 24-hour hotline at a local county for a local county service provider. So I do know what that's like. Um, I have been on the call before. I don't necessarily want to do that now in my age and time. There are other people who are more qualified to step into that role, but to help them achieve, get the people in, keep that building open,
Yeah.
keep those phone lines open and online. That's what I want to do.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So people that want to support you, follow you, they can connect with you on LinkedIn. So this is LinkedIn,
Yeah.
Dr. Keith McNally. So you can go on LinkedIn and look for Keith, and just send him a message, ask for a connection. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to connect with you. And if you do have a podcast, bring him in. You know, the more he talks about it, the more is being broadcast, and
Mhm.
his idea is being shared with a lot of people. That would be the way to contact him. And but I asked you a question, and I don't think you answered completely. You have one friend that says, "Yes, I'm in."
Oh, okay. So once one is all in, and then even if you're only able to do a couple miles or a state, so I've got somebody who's joining me just for the state of Georgia because
Yeah.
that's where he lives. Um, I don't want to embarrass you on your podcast, but I invite you at maybe the northern part of the hike. So even if you want to trek, parts of the hike, my intention would also be through raising of the funds would be to pay you for your time as well, time and equipment. So that would be part of the game plan because I know that you're leaving, possible some work time, leaving your family behind, whatever that looks like. So the goal would be to compensate you for your time and effort as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
So because you don't, people that do have, let's say, a mortgage or a rent to pay, if they leave for a month or two, they still need to pay that
They
mortgage.
still need to pay the mortgage. Yeah.
But then ways to raise money. I can see it as a being could be a really amazing project, just to fundraise, and maybe each person can be self funded. Who knows? There's different ways you can look into that for sure.
And so I am trying to get on other people's podcasts. So if you're listening and you run
Yeah,
a podcast and this sounds of interest to you and your audience, please, if you
yeah.
own a stage, a church organization, a civic organization, I will fly out there and talk to your people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I know you have a little gift you can share with people to contact you, because you wrote that fabulous book. So contact Keith also if you want to have the first chapter of his book. And so it's just a teaser to get the whole book. So
Absolutely.
and I'm super happy you were here today. Thank you so much for what you're doing for suicide prevention and helping people going through that difficult mental state where you feel like there's no point living, but there's always so much to be grateful for and so much to live for. And by having people being able to support you with the fundraising that Keith is doing, it will have more support for you to be able to reach out if you are one of those people that thinks life is done. And I hope that just by hearing this talk, it will make you excited to say that there's light out there. There's the light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe I should just wait another day before I do it. Just live another day, every day. Just live the next day, and reach out and talk to people. You're not alone. We're here to support you.
Denise, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So stay there. I'll be right back with you. So this is a very sensitive subject, and it's it's very dear to my heart. I've lost a friend through suicide years ago, and I was devastated because I had no idea, because he didn't open up, he didn't talk. He thought it was all by himself and life wasn't worth living. And so talk to people. People around you want to hear about you. And if you need to talk to someone and you don't know who, well, book a call with me and I'll be more than happy to talk with you and to help you move through that phase where you can see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that there's so much to live for. So thank you so much, Keith. Thank you so much, everyone that listened. And until next time, be kind to one another.